broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hello everybody, welcome once again to UFC on AfterBuzz TV. My name is Daria Baronato, and you can find me on Twitter.
You're not Daria.
Shut up, man.
You sound like Daria.
I can pull this off.
You sound like Daria.
I can do this.
You look like Daria.
Thank you. What?
Huh?
You can find me at DariaB28 on Twitter. In fact, actually, J10716, of course. Daria out for the episode, but we'll be back next week. So, filling in here, of course, my partner in crime, George Hermoza.
C.
And two guests here, Chuck Ludwig. Sorry, guys, I gotta check to my notes here. Chuck Ludwig and Ila Erikson, both of whom BJJ practitioners and Sambo expert from the local SoCal community. We're gonna get into their stories a little bit later, but give your Twitter accounts there.
Oh, at Chuck Ludwig. That's where you can find. Also, I'm a comedian, so you can find all my stand-up dates there.
And I'm at the Defila.
Now, what is the Defila? Tell us about that real quick.
Oh, I have a line called Defila, and it's
a clothing line.
Yeah, clothing line. It's athletic, geared toward female MMA, and it's like fun. No pink fonts.
Gotcha. I like that.
For tough chicks.
No wings on the back, please.
No wings.
Very
no like
good.
Fearless or anything.
All right.
Like that.
Well, look, we're here talking about Fight Night 63, which happened on Saturday. That was yesterday. Yeah, yesterday.
Yesterday morning,
yeah. A rare
and it was
afternoon.
in America. Usually they have the early shows when it's like overseas, but no, it was America.
And
Virginia.
the explanation to that, I have a theory, but...
I don't know, man. What's your theory?
March Madness? I believe the TV schedule. I don't follow basketball too much, but I know that March Madness has been gearing up. We're into the last. I think this is the culminating.
I thought Easter egg hunt. That's what I thought. They want to start early,
Perhaps
get it done.
Some of that too. Yeah,
two for two there.
Ariel Helwani was suggesting it might have been in nod to Passover and Pesach dinners and stuff like that, but. I do think that the Fox TV deal probably had a little bit to play in that. But anyway, Fairfax, Virginia, Chad Money Mendes over Ricardo Lamas. And we'll run down the results real quickly here. Opening it up, Ron Stallings with a unanimous decision over Justin Jones. Timothy Johnson with a TKO in the first over Shamil Abdurhamidov. And Alexander Yakovlev getting the decision over Gray Maynard. Liz Carmouche, I believe that was was that the headliner of the Fox card?
Yes, it was.
Yep. 3-round decision. Who's beeping there?
I don't know.
We got live internet for you.
I thought my phone was dead.
We're actually... Let's take calls here. By the way, that reminds me, 424-253-0504. If you want to ask us questions, guys, don't call Isla.
Yeah.
It's a miracle that you got her number, frankly. First time she's on the show, but that's the number again, 424-253-0504 for this studio. On Twitter, if we've got a live...
I think it was 44 AfterBuzz. Okay, no, I'm just kidding.
Maybe. Somebody work that out. And on the live feed... Going along with this YouTube chat here, or Twitter, hashtag ABTVUFC. So talk to us. We're live for the next hour here. Continuing on, though, Liz Carmouche with a decision over Lauren Murphy. Dustin Poirier making his return up to 155 against Carlos Diego Ferreira. Clay Guida over Robbie Peralta also at... Oh, no, that was 145, I believe. But Clay talking about going up to 155 after his unanimous decision over Robbie. Juliana Pena making a return to the UFC after a year's hiatus over Milana Dudieva. Your girl there, eh?
Yeah, I love her.
Nice. TKO in the first. Really wicked elbows and punches there. Good for her on the return. Michael Chiesa, winner from Ultimate Fighter
15.
There you go. That's why George is here. With another unanimous decision over Mitch Clark. Al Iaquinta with a bit of a controversial split decision over George or Jorge Masvidal. And in the main event, as we said, Chad Money Mendes over Ricardo Lamas. It was a first-round finish. Why did I not list it here like that? TKO in the first. Just look at my own notes. Guys, what do you think about the show? Kind of an anomaly, like we said, schedule-wise.
Right.
And, not necessarily one of their bigger crowds, but I think possibly the first, or maybe only the second time that they've been to Fairfax. Not a regular stop for them.
This event was the third that the organization has hosted at the venue.
That's what I said, number 3.
And first since 2012.
Your memory is amazing.
Wikipedia.
Right.
Jorgepedia. That one was Wikipedia, I'm not going to lie.
I thought it was a lot of great fights on the card. The thing with Al was kind of took the show though for
his post-fight interview.
Yeah, is getting booed a little bit, and I don't know. I like that kind of entertainment and that heart. I mean, he got beat up in the first round, bad.
Yeah.
He was bleeding everywhere. That cut's going to take a while to heal, and then he came back in and kind of redeemed himself, at least in the third. And when it goes to a decision, it's the judge's call, and it sucks to get booed. And I like the way he handled it, even though they cut the audio like as soon as possible.
You can tell what he said.
Yeah, well, he's from Long Island, so there's going to be a few F-bombs, like just in casual conversation,
Right.
So,
in his marriage matrimony vows,
hey,
there will
listen.
probably be some F-bombs. I'll stay with you for life, that.
I was in there with you from the beginning, and you... And like that. Well, okay. Is that an I do? Yeah, we'll take it.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Did you guys? How did you score that one?
Well, I'm from New York, and I've seen Al fight for years out locally in New York. So all for Al, but in reality, I thought he probably only won the third round.
Really?
I mean, it was a close fight, and he was bloody. So it's always like, when someone looks visibly hurt, you kind of take that into account. But he had such heart, so it's that's kind of the problem with a round-based scoring system, where it's like he might have at the end he looked like he was winning, but you can't ignore those first 2 rounds.
Yeah. We've talked about this in the past, the issues with scoring and how it should change, as well as kind of thinking outside the box rather than doing a boxing
10 must.
10 must, yeah. I've heard somebody even talk about starting from 0 and earning points upward. So because it's more of a 3-dimensional sport, it's not just punching. You got kicks, you got control, you got wrestling, and submission work as well. You got to earn, or you take points for what you earn. Right. Which is an interesting theory.
Yeah, that's a great move, because then you could have fights where somebody, he didn't just beat him, he beat him by 40 points, which is pretty cool. I was always a fan of the way Pride did it, where it was judged across the whole round. It was the whole fight though. They would judge it and say, well, if you do great for the first, I think it was like a 5-minute and a 10-minute round. If you do
10 then a 5.
10 and then 5.
Yeah.
And if you did great the first 13 minutes and then sucked at the end, you lost the fight, which it's a fight.
There's something to be said for.
Yeah, it's a fight. If you don't have the gas to go the whole thing, it's like that's on your training and that's on your technique.
Which would have played well here for Al,
definitely,
who was killing it towards the very end.
Yeah.
I gave Moss the first round. Second one I have here saying 10-9 to Al, maybe. So I'm still not sure about that 24 hours later, and the last round 3 was really close as well. I'm not too mad at it, but what I was going to say earlier was when fights are so close and even, a lot of times I think the judges go into the zone of whose face would you rather have, who's more marked up, and that's not necessarily the best criteria either, because some people will open up easier than others will. Sure. Nick Diaz, Vanderlei, but
scar tissue.
Yeah, exactly. Scar tissue, can open up. But that said, I think that clearly that didn't play a factor here.
I think it did with the fans though, because the fans saw that and were like, "Well, this guy's beaten up." You know, I mean, he looked. You see a guy, and it's kind of hard to even ignore that. And you see him; he's getting combinations in there, and he's still driving, but there's blood literally in the creases of his nose, running down his face, and
I think it's a good look.
You can tell, because if you notice early on in that fight, the crowd was very much so pro Iaquinta, or very much pro. They were chanting him, they were chanting his name. So you can tell a lot of the fact that at the end of the fight, they were booing the decision because even they knew that Masvidal won that fight.
Well, here's the thing that he did too, where he opened it up to the crowd and was like, "Are you booing me?" And hey, you got a bunch of drunk fight fans. They're just gonna say yes to whatever. You could have said,
"You're a stand-up comic. You know that playing to the crowd.
You give them the opportunity.
You give them an inch, they'll take a mile." Right?
Yeah, totally. So it was like, bad choice of words. George,
what do you think? Did you score it?
I had it for Masvidal.
Did you?
I gave him the first 2 rounds. The third round could have gone either way. I mean, I would have, if I had to choose, I would have gave it to Raging Al. But I can definitely see how everybody thinks of it as controversial, not just because of the post-fight comments, whatever we heard of it. It was very clear that what he said.
It is out there, guys. You can. There was
very
an
clear
East Coast feed. I think somebody had a Vine.
Even when I got the edited version, I was like, oh, I can tell what he said.
Yeah.
Easily. I'm a good lip reader. But I really gave it to Masvidal. I feel bad for him because I really think he was very much so in control of that fight. Even as far as posture goes, I saw Masvidal was that veteran that was looking at Iaquinta and saying, dude, I get you. I was once there like 5 years ago. I'm that guy. So now fast forward, and you can tell that Iaquinta was that guy definitely still trying to make a name for himself. And it sucks that now he kind of has that win, but kind of like an asterisk, not officially, but people might not look at that as a
I think it'll certainly probably check Al and Team Serra-Longo to tighten up his game a little bit more. I don't think the victory was completely undeserved in that Al was a lot busier for those first 3 rounds. I felt like it was a matter of quantity versus quality. Al was throwing a lot.
He did have a lot of good leg kicks. Like you couldn't tell just from looking at Masvidal's thigh. But it was really bad. So that is one thing that I'll give to Al.
It definitely wasn't a crazy robbery or anything. It was just like controversial.
Well, I mean, we've definitely seen a lot worse.
Oh yeah,
like definitely this isn't even top 10, maybe even bottom 10 of decisions. But and
I hate to say, but I think that this actually raises Al's stock. I think the post-fight interview, as much as the fight itself, raises his stock.
I loved it. I mean,
it's almost heel-ish, to like.
He acknowledged to flipping off 2 little kids. I see 2 little kids, the 2 Utes in the crowd, and I said, ew.
Yeah, they're probably bad kids too. Let me tell you, they never clean their rooms. I can tell these things. All right, I got a brother.
Right, but I think that's people are going to casual fans will remember him. They're talking about him, and that's going to be the guy that continues to
and
get
the heart of him. And I like somebody that speaks their mind too. And he gets a little. You don't want every single post interview fight. Every post fight interview to be like, oh, I'm really like saying my team and all that. Like,
well, it's the worst time to have an interview. Your head's obviously not on straight,
Either that or they have they're gassed out. Can barely put together a coherent
I'd like to think
thought.
the big guy to help me with it. Hey, okay.
Whatever his name is. Well, let's go back a little bit earlier. In the opener of the let's start with this performance bonuses. We haven't touched on that. Chad Mendes won for his finish over Ricardo Lamas. Dustin Poirier also had a first round. It was a KO over Diego Ferreira. Juliana Pena, she was a first round finish, and also Tim Johnson, new name that we haven't not a lot of people have heard of. That was in the undercard heavyweight match versus Shamil.
Shamil.
You got this.
Himov. Damn it, I had it as I was practicing this morning, watching the prelims. I got it. Stan was nailing it. John Anik was nailing it, and I was imitating, and that was fine. Yeah. Interesting fight because I don't know. Here's what I want to get at. We have 4 performance bonuses, and as opposed to fight of the night, this has been the trend we've been seeing. When there's not a match that really sticks out in your mind, it seems like the UFC brass tends to just give out 4 bonuses. I kind of question. I was always a fan of finding knockout of the night, submission of the night before we went into these performance bonuses, and I kind of question that Timothy Johnson's performance was good. He got the win. Good for him. But I don't know that that's one that I would have really, qualified as performance of the night.
Right.
Now, notwithstanding that everybody else though went to decision.
Right.
Thoughts on that?
I think anything you can do to make people go for it, and not play a game. Like, I think anytime, because like rules make fights, right? That's like in every sport what the rules are, and if the rules are you get an extra X amount of money for kicking ass in the first round, you're going to try to kick ass in the first round more, as opposed to be, pace yourself out. Okay, it's 3 rounds, I got to go in, which is the smart way to do it. But I want to see somebody out there swinging. I want to see somebody out there trying for submissions right away. And, if it's money that makes it do that, well, gosh darn it, this is America, and that's the way you should do it.
Yeah, I agree. If you notice, all 4 performances of the fight, like you said, were all finishes. None of the guys that won from decision got a bonus. So.
Right. Was there anything on the card you guys thought that would have been fight of the night? What was your favorite fight?
It seemed like they used to give controversial split decisions, like a fight of the night, just to be like, oh, so you didn't win, but here's some money. You know?
Yeah.
Like, it was close. So they didn't do that. Like you said, they haven't been.
I mean, I like the Iaquinta Masvidal. That was my personal fight of the night.
Yeah.
Regardless of the decision, just because it was a wrong decision, in my opinion, doesn't take away from the fact that I thought it was a very good fight.
It was close and competitive. Yeah.
I thought the ref in the Lamas fight probably should have won something for letting that go on. Yeah, I mean, that was the most beat down.
Right.
It was a little bit ridiculous.
Who was that one? Our guy, Big Dan Miragliotta.
Yeah, it was like what?
Giving Ricardo the chance to come back.
Yeah, like he might make it. I mean, I get it. It's the main event, but like, he's looking at even Mendes is looking at him like, are we done here? Can I go home? What?
There was a lot of feeling out with leg kicks in that match. Mendes rocked Lamas here. I think it was with rocked him with a right, and Lamas went back. He was scrambling, but was able to get back on his feet. But he still mentally was not quite there.
He was getting beat on. I mean, he was getting beat on the whole time, and he wasn't actively defending himself. He was rolling over and like not getting hit as hard. But I think that was also kind of because Mendes wasn't trying to hit him in the back of the head. He was trying to like, listen, this guy's out, and like there was a few times when it was like, he's unconscious.
I think there was 3 times that we saw Lamas fall. Once was the first time, and then the other 2 I think was on his own accord, lack of balance and stuff, and Mendes just
getting hit
on
in the
him.
head will do that to you with the balance.
So I hear anyway. Yeah. I'll take your word for that. Timothy Johnson. Getting back to him, looking at my notes, I guess I got to give credit for 2 times was charging in with punches, cage clinch. He was coming forward. It seemed, a straightforward attack, clinching. It didn't jazz me as much as I guess we're talking about the Iaquinta Masvidal match. I would have liked to see those guys be rewarded for their performance. Masvidal fought smart, even if it wasn't necessarily a dogfight like Al was giving there.
Right. Yeah, it's the thing with the bonuses and the politics of it. You're like, I think Al should get a bonus just for the amount of press they're going to get on him.
Yep.
It's like I don't know how you guys want to run this, but
they give it for Twitter performances. Might as well give it for post-fight interviews. Liz Carmouche coming back, winning also by what was I didn't hear so much buzz in terms of a controversial decision. It was unanimous by 29-28 across the board.
Yeah.
But certainly very close. I have here, the first and second, I ended up giving Liz, but really by a hair.
Yeah, just by a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, didn't Lauren Murphy's kind of had that situation happen to her before, though, right? Where it was like not finishing the fights, and it's like I think her camp's been upset about decisions in the past, and it's like, you got to finish a fight if you don't like the way decisions go in your favor.
Yeah,
work harder on finishing it. I mean, obviously, it's very easy for me to say that here. I'm not getting kicked in the head right now, but
she was busy with the striking, just not quite landing. Either coming really close or not landing hard enough on Liz to distinguish any damage.
Well, you don't see as many knockouts with women. It's just like not heavyweight.
Listen to that. What's that old Sprite commercial? It's 7-Up, but that strikes me as it's the 7-Up commercial.
I mean, we all know that
refreshing.
Women have capability of finishing.
Yeah.
Ronda Rousey. Of course, not everybody can be her.
Well, or it's like,
Right.
Juliana too
Yeah,
was just
exactly.
like, had her, she was screwed,
Exactly.
But
So like
you don't
said,
see as
just-
many,
Was there? Did you guys have issues with that one in the scoring, or did you guys see that? For
No,
No, it was just it wasn't.
it was close.
Yeah, it wasn't.
It would have been nicer to see like a definitive something.
Everybody likes a win, like a good knockout, good submission. So every time it goes to the judges, you're like, oh, this could, especially in a fight like that where you're like, this could go any way, and I would just be like, oh, well,
I mean, it's to the point now where you think you watch, you're like, oh, well, so and so won, but then you're like, oh, you never know. You never know.
Exactly.
We've seen some fights where it's like, whoa, how did that even happen?
Yeah.
So yeah,
usually involves me standing up and going, what the?
Exactly.
Pulling an owl.
I was going to say, to that end, looking at the scores here, again, in that co-main event, you had 29-28 for Al, and then somebody saw it 30-27 for
Yeah, I thought
George.
that was funny.
That's a big difference. That's two judges over here. I'm framing up. Yeah, see me over here, and then one judge seen it way over here, right behind George's head.
He might have been behind a column.
This is
maybe.
30-27 over behind George here.
There was like a chubby camera guy.
Yeah, so to see the ref, bad placement.
Yeah. That one, though, I think that it delivered to me in terms of close. I like those matches where it is very close and you can debate either way.
Right.
I hear you.
Another one we saw that let's talk about, because there were a couple of fighters returning from long hiatus, of course, including Clay Guida and Robbie Peralta, but Gray Maynard. That one stuck out in my head. Really kind of interesting. His coming back. Where are we now? Is it George? You looking up his? That's
what are you looking for?
Oh, his record there, 4 in a row. Coming back off of a pretty long hiatus since August of last year. That's just a little bit more than 6 months. What do we take away from Alexander Yakovlev and Gray Maynard?
How many? What was it? Is he 1-5 now?
He is
Pretty much. I mean, he was the guy who was undefeated going into fighting Frankie Edgar. For the third time. He beat Frankie Edgar before. He had a draw with Frankie Edgar, and his third fight for the title, he was literally still undefeated. But ever since he lost to Frankie Edgar,
he
hasn't been the same.
Yeah, hasn't ever really. I mean, he was a name. He was like one of those guys that you're like, oh, this guy's he's gonna be wearing the belt.
Strong wrestling, obviously. Training a lot with he was with Extreme Couture, and then at a certain point, because he'd been there for quite a long time, made his way up to I believe AKA. And was there for a bit. And apparently for this match, came back to Extreme Couture. Robert Follis was in his corner. Now that's 4 in a row. And Yakovlev really seemed to, for a lot of the match, out-grapple Gray the grappler. So, that being 4 in a row for Gray, where do you guys think he stands with his career? And was this more of an indictment of Gray where he's at, or Yakovlev, and what we have to see from him?
That whole weight class is pretty competitive, so it's easy for even someone that's amazing to just kind of fade away a little bit. But I don't know. I just think about when was the last win he had? It was against Clay, right? I think
that was like 3 years ago.
Yeah, and it's like it must be kind of frustrating for him to see Clay kind of who's.
Well, let's see. He fought Clay in 2012. 2 matches in 2013, 1 match 2014. So they've been his dance card has been a little more sparse.
And it's not even losing close calls. I mean, 3 of his last 4 losses were by TKO.
Yeah.
So he's not like he's getting knocked out first round, second round. So I think it might be that time. I think Dana's gotta give him that text.
That conversation.
I already got a caller, so I think I might have to text him.
He's still got he doesn't have a smartphone though. I don't know if you knew that.
He's still got the BlackBerry?
He got the T9, man.
I guess he's got a BBM.
His
He's got
assistants
the
T9,
have smartphones.
Yeah, they
I guarantee
probably
you
have all
that.
the smartphones.
I love T9. Once I actually figured it out after 4 years, T9 was the best thing ever.
What was that? Was that the Terminator before Robert Forrest?
No.
Okay. T1000, T9, you can understand how I would go backwards there.
Scientific calculator? I don't know. Nobody knows.
Okay, look, coming back, though, another great first-round finish. Kind of more fortunate than great. Dustin Poirier over Diego Ferreira. First-round KO, the only KO of the night. Diego came out swinging. He was aggressive against Poirier. And this was Poirier's return to 155 to preface this whole thing. Previously, was the Conor McGregor match? Was that his previous one, I believe?
And that was at
145. September last year, and now moving up to lightweight. He spoke very highly in the post-fight interview and press conference about how he felt that much better. He felt like he could generate more power, that was the right place for him.
I mean, yeah, if you're cutting too much, you're not going to have any energy. And it's not a move, especially right now with this Reebok deal coming out, that someone's going to make lightly, because you get paid based on your rankings within your weight division. Changing weight divisions, you might have gone from a mid-pack guy to the bottom again. So it's not something, you're probably going to see less of it moving forward, because that's a huge financial loss to take, even though it might be the right decision for your body.
Very curious, too, to see how those rankings change. It sounded like there was going to be some a difference in how the criteria.
You mean not arbitrary? Like,
knock on wood.
Yeah.
Hopefully
they're weird. I mean, they're weird. They definitely condition, they pick favorites, obviously. And it's a business, so I get it. But
well, at least publicly or on the internet, you see that there's an explanation of certain media that do vote on the vote on the ratings. How their opinions are influenced, remains to be seen. We'd have to have deep discussions with all of them to find out exactly, and even then read between the lines. But
and it's one of the most impossible things, other than having a tournament. In which case, it's also like, what's the matchup? Because there's definitely guys. You look at the top 10 of any weight class. There's some guys that can beat other guys, but can't get beat by someone else. It's all who you're fighting, what your style is versus their style. So the whole ranking system is almost impossible to have 100% make sense. But
it sounds like we've got our answer already with Dustin and his decision to stay at 55. You like that, George?
I'm a big fan of Dustin the Diamond Poirier.
Yeah.
I liked him at featherweight. Kind of torn on who to cheer for when he faced McGregor, though, because McGregor, that guy's crazy.
You like the guy with a good promo?
That guy's crazy. You see that press conference in Ireland
when with the belt?
God.
Yes.
Oh man.
That was this world tour that they've been doing, guys.
Even some of the build-up, like Boston, Vegas, like everything. I wish I was at the LA one.
You know what? That was actually pretty low-key, surprisingly.
But that guy can, I'm sure Dana White's having fun not having to put his promo, or, the marketing team.
Promo hat.
Because, I don't have to do much. McGregor's doing all the work. Now Aldo's, saying, dude, I'm going to kill you. You're like, that's what I want to see.
Yeah.
That's essentially, mission accomplished.
Guys, what have I been saying? Take note. Learn to cut a promo. Throw your convictions out there. Obviously, they like that.
But yeah, I like that Poirier was like, you know what? Let me switch it up, because it does seem that featherweight's kind of stacked. I mean, obviously with Mendes, Lamas, Aldo, McGregor, Edgar, and Faber now coming back to featherweight. So now who knows? More natural weight, more powerful. So I'm really excited at what he's gonna bring to that lightweight division.
Now, you guys. Take the train off the tracks a little bit, though. But in terms of weight, cutting weight or having to make weight, you both compete in tournaments. Certainly, Sambo. Have you guys had to fluctuate? And in your travels, you find tournament by tournament what weight is best,
Sure.
or how did you guys approach that?
Well, for me, anytime I've done a few striking tournaments, and you definitely cut more weight with that than you do with grappling. With grappling, you can kind of get away with it. And it also depends on the skill level you're in. Like I used to, if I was doing a intermediate or beginner level tournament when I first started, I would cut weight because everyone was cutting weight. Yeah. And then you got into advanced, and it was people were kind of competing at what they walked around at, because at least in grappling, these guys were competing a few times a month. They're not going to be cutting.
Well, and if you're advanced and you're training all the time, you're just at better shape all the time. You know.
It's a better, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like it's almost like a veteran move where you've got your skills and you know what you're doing, but you also realize that if you're healthier, you feel more comfortable. You're better at those skills.
And it's like, some jiu-jitsu tournaments you have to weigh in right before you get on the mat, and so they're kind of like trying. Yeah, like there's no rehydration period. So they're trying to get people closer to their walk-around weight.
What happens if you don't make weight in that scenario?
Disqualified.
You go home.
Yeah.
And the other guy is standing on the mat going, hey, dude, what the F?
Yeah. Or
Ally Akinta.
So
or they're like, cool, I got to buy.
Yeah.
Or that.
So here's a pro tip. Go there, give out candy bars to your fellow competitors. Really fattening. Right,
no, I've been like pushed off of a scale aggressively before. It was bad. But,
the Brazilians don't take kindly to.
But yeah, I used to cut more weight, and now I go closer to my natural weight just because I like focusing on my training more than my diet. But then there's also something to be said, like when I'm really dieting hard and training, then it really puts me in that focus mode where like all I'm thinking about is training, because I'm not like thinking about what I'm eating, because I'm only eating like rabbit
But that's
food.
probably smarter to do between tournaments, not necessarily leading up. Certainly not too close to that, right?
Right, and just being nervous about like the right before you get on the mat, you're nervous about making weight because you want to be as close as you can, and it's not like the night, but like pro MMA, like they have to give you that day rehydration period. So then it's like you're on weight, and you sweat it out, and then you have the next day to rehydrate. It's a little more. I don't like thinking about it like up to the wire. So
do you think that would fit in MMA at all?
Well,
same day.
Yeah, same day.
No, because
I don't think so either.
People would still cut, and they would go in there dehydrated, and there's higher chance of
brain injuries and all that stuff.
Way higher chance of brain injury.
Right.
When because where does brain injury come from? Your brain's sitting in this liquid,
yeah.
And if you don't have any liquid because you just dropped 25 pounds.
Yeah.
I mean, I did a jiu-jitsu tournament where I dropped like 10 pounds the day before. It was the day before weigh-in, so I was like, and that was easy. I mean, there's people that'll just go in the sauna and they come out. They look. You can count the muscles on them. It's gross looking, but like you'll see some guys that are just like a zombie walking up to the weigh-ins. And fighters, they're so competitive. They want to win so bad. Any edge they think they can get, they'll cut. Yeah. They'll cut together. And guys that are on the fence that are kind of like, I could be feather or lightweight. Yeah. And they're going to lightweight, it's not the healthiest thing. If they have to do it that day, they're still going to cut. Yeah. And it'll affect their performance, and it'll make worse fights. I wish there was a way to have weight classes that were more even, because some people can cut better, but you're going to have competitive people.
Yeah, because you see people that are super good at cutting weight because they've been wrestling since they were kids, and so then they have an advantage, and it's just like the skill of cutting weight, even Ronda usually looks real big, and it's because she cuts a lot.
She's great at cutting.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, Clay Guida had a really good performance here, and he's one that applies to this scenario. He fought here at 45. Previously, a very popular 55er, had a very good run a couple of years ago at that weight class. I don't think he ever got his title shot. It was leading up to it and then got derailed. And dropped down to 45 with a mixed bag of success.
Right.
Now talking about going up to back up to 55. Although it's funny because going up to 55, you would think that you would have that. Maybe it's the mixed bag that he's just not happy with that and would rather go to where he had his success. But at the same time, coming off of a win, pretty unconventional to go, well, let me change weight classes. You would think that would validate where he's at, at 45.
Yeah, and he looked great. Some really theatrical takedowns.
Yeah, a lot of big takedowns. He owned that in this match, and being with now with Alpha Male as well. Certainly a place where guys are experts on cutting safely and in a healthy, comfortable way. What do you guys think? 45, 55?
I think where he's at now is good. He looked good. I mean, it's like why. There's like a tendency to like want to change things when things aren't going well, which is not always the right thing to do. And it's like, on the other hand, when things are going well, stick with it. I mean, he looked good. Yeah,
I agree. Stay there.
Yeah, I agree.
Stay there.
Not really much to say. I mean, he did his thing in lightweight. I mean, he holds a victory over both Pettis and Dos Anjos. So then again, that was 4 years ago. So,
I mean, his mixed bag of success, has he blamed it on the weight? On cutting too much weight and not feeling like himself or whatever?
No, I don't remember anyone specifically saying.
Okay.
hey man, you're like win and lose. You're like so you kind of suck at featherweight. What you gonna do? I don't think it was. Hopefully, it wasn't. Wasn't motivated by that, and God forbid, pity the journalist that phrased it to him like that.
Right? Yeah. Dump you on your head.
Yeah. Juliana Pena, Milana Dudovic. Let's talk about this. Don't call it a comeback, although it certainly was.
I want everybody to go to some of the previous AfterBuzzes to our end of the year special. I picked Juliana Pena as my fighter to watch for 2015.
Yay.
Boom.
So I'm not just coming on the hype train. I'm already there. I'm already there.
It was documented a year ago.
I thought she looked good. I mean, a little rusty within the first 10 seconds, but of course, that's her first fight in a year and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah, she looked good. She looked strong. She looked powerful. Those brutal elbows. I mean, some of them didn't look like they connected, but then some of them did. Then finally the ref was like, no mas. So.
I mean,
which was good.
When she first got on top and she was in mount, throwing down, it looked like an after-school beat-up session.
Yeah.
I was expecting
Christmas
a world
story.
star.
Somebody in the back yelling world star. She was waving her hands up, just trying to, not defending at all. And that was another one I was like, come on, ref. There's two ways you can handle getting punched in the face when someone's mounting you, and she did not do the right way. She was just kind of either flailing or turning, but it was not actively defending herself. She was getting hit, and then once those elbows started to come down, I think you just had to step in and say, all right.
Dudovic was Dudieva, pardon me, was really in a bad position. It was early in the round. She was scrambling. Dudieva got the trip takedown. Pena was able to scramble into full mount.
Great balance too.
Yeah. But Dudieva was really stuck in a bad position for quite a long time. The referee gave her as much time as possible to get out.
Yeah, that was definitely not an early stoppage.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it that at all.
Right.
And that's, as anyone that's ever been there, that's such a crummy place to be in. And sometimes,
have you been there?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. And it's not fun when someone's on top of you and they're just on the other hand, Dudieva was not doing a very good active defense. She wasn't trying to catch any hands. She wasn't trying to bump her. She was literally, especially at the beginning, just flailing her arms in front, which prevented her from getting hit, I admit, and looked ridiculous.
It was kind of like the Jedi lightsaber deflecting the shots, right?
Exactly. Fighting off the drone army. It was, but when you're getting punched in the head, there's somebody on top of you, you can't breathe good, you got the lights of the octagon shining down your head.
Sensibility kind of goes out the window at that point.
Yeah. I give her the benefit of the punch in the head.
Right.
Now, I'm really happy for Juliana. It was a really good fight.
What's your connection with her?
Oh, well, we had an intoxicated pull-up contest once, but that's
Who
friends
won?
with it. Well, to be fair, she wasn't really fully extending,
Who was
but
more
I didn't want
intoxicated?
her to re-injure her knee beating me up,
Who was
so
more
I didn't say
intoxicated?
anything.
Yeah, who won the shots for shots?
Oh gosh, well, I don't.
You guys scoring some secrecy.
We've gone to AfterBuzz taxi confessions here, guys.
I don't remember.
The
who was
yellow and
more
black is not
intoxicated,
just for
but
the buzz.
I love Juliana. I wish I would have done her outfit. I should have bugged her about it, but.
Next
good.
time.
Yeah,
because
next
she'll
time.
clearly be coming back.
Yeah,
Just,
exactly.
I mean,
No,
her
I have to
outfit,
bug her about it.
just got to throw it in here now. She looked really good fighting, but her outfit could have sure used some help,
I would have liked to see some midriff on Juliana.
We all would.
I see her on the I would probably just might as well put her against Liz Carmouche.
Yeah?
I think
Might as well.
Might as well. I mean, they both just fought, so it's fair,
Right.
So,
That was
everyone
going
else
to
is booked, though, so that's pretty much why.
That was going to be my next question. Of course, people started dropping the seeds already about Juliana versus Ronda, almost maybe even as a backup in case something happens to Betch, God forbid. Is that? Do you think that's a little bit too early? It's what we got.
Yeah, she needs just to get her confidence back. I mean, there's ring rust. There's going to be at least one other fight. You know, and I'd like to see whoever they put against Ronda next to be kind of brought up a little bit more. Through the last couple fights, it seems like here's someone for Ronda to beat up. As opposed to letting the other girls fight it out. And I'm sure that pay-per-view money you get with Ronda is intoxicating because she's one of the biggest draws, without a doubt. But like let somebody else develop a little bit more to beat her, because it's
and
not
they're
gonna be
definitely
easy.
just still developing the women's division,
Sure.
you know, and trying to get.
Well, yeah, and they don't want Ronda to lose for sure, because that's, I mean,
I think for the most part, they're not too worried about that.
yeah, yeah, I don't know. I mean, other
At
than
this point,
She hasn't been at risk yet.
I mean,
really.
Cyborg maybe, you know. Cyborg, we saw her recently at Invicta. She
Yeah.
looked good.
right,
She
right.
looks good, and if she can make that 135, but that's a big ask.
The details and the factors all involved in that one. We could go on for a long time.
And
with
many
that.
people have, yeah.
Right? Yeah. Michael Chiesa and Mitch Clark. Michael Chiesa coming out. It's really strange. Unanimous decision. Scores of 29-26, 29-26, 29-28. I felt, I mean, it was a decent match for both guys. I did give Chiesa the win. I have here my score was 30-27. Although, I'm sorry, Clark, I did give Clark the third one. Where do you get, with 29-26, these were two independent judges coming up with this score. Those are pretty big discrepancies. That means that both judges saw a 10-8, which I could understand in the second round, and then presumably a 10-7 in the first, or maybe vice versa, 10-8 in the first.
Was there any penalties, maybe?
Not that I know.
Right,
no,
they would have
there was a
got it,
penalty
though.
in
All
the
the
undercard
judges-
match.
Yeah.
That
Maybe it's the
surprised
same judge doing the Al's fight too. You know, like you know, he just wants to be different. You know, he doesn't want to.
Not a good time for it.
Yeah, you know, it's his unique streak. Yeah, it is a pretty big discrepancy.
George, how'd you score that one?
I had Michael Chiesa just 30-27. He just grinded him. He just in control. Just
I could see
best.
the second Chiesa was pushing with cage clinch. I'm sorry, no, Clark it was, but Chiesa got a trip takedown and controlled Clark a lot with a body triangle. Was working hard for a rear naked choke. Never got the arm under the neck, but there's a lot of pressure. I mean, I was on the edge of my seat waiting for it to finish, and it didn't. I could see that as a 10-8, but I didn't see that in the first round.
7 or what did you say? It would have to have been. It would have been like a.
If we assume that Clark, given that it was at 29-something, Clark won one round, which I would assume was the third. That's the one where he came the closest, as far as I'm concerned. Which means that Chiesa got the first and second, but 4 points off of that. That means, I guess that was at 10-8.
Maybe 10-8, 10-8.
Possibly, 10-8, 10-8, and I guess that math may work as well. But I just, I was surprised
When you
at
go
that.
to the points, the total point system. That's right.
Yeah,
That would make this math a lot easier. I'm like, I'm an MMA fan, man. I got to take my shoes off to count that many.
build it up from zero. All right then. Well, Chad Mendes, Ricardo Lamas. You know, this is a bit of a bottleneck here in featherweight, as we were talking about 145 just a little earlier. Mendes finishes Lamas pretty quickly. Middle of the first with a TKO, just knocking him around like a pinball.
Yeah. Bouncing him around. I mean, it was once that first hit landed, they kind of both swung at the same time. He got that, I think it was a right
top
in.
of the head,
and he just, and then after that, it was all just a matter of when the fight was going to stop. Probably, you know, again, a little late. But the question is, where does Mendes, beyond this fight, where does Mendes go in the weight class?
He's in a stalemate. I mean, you have Frankie Edgar versus Uriah Faber, which I'm looking forward to that fight. I mean, if
that's
Faber,
next month, right? That's end of April, I believe.
And of course, you have Aldo McGregor. But like, if Faber wins, does he fight Faber? I mean,
he's got to, because he can't fight, and unless McGregor wins, can't fight. He's not going to fight Aldo again.
Like, if he fights Edgar, if Edgar wins, I think he should fight him. But I don't know,
that makes
man.
sense. But Mendes and Faber, you're not going to be able to make that happen.
Is there anybody? I know. Is there anybody that's like on the up?
You've got the rankings right there, buddy. Talk to us.
I don't know. Everybody I see,
I
is kind of like maybe Max Holloway, but that's kind of like a step down.
I mean,
no offense to Max Holloway, but
if
Mendes is like the number one contender.
Yeah, if he wants a title fight, McGregor's got to win the title. I mean, that's basically what it's got to come down to. Otherwise,
or he ends up accepting a top or a middle 10 guy there. Clay and Mendes possibly. I mean,
that's another step down.
That would be a big for Clay.
It would be for Clay, but a step up for Clay, but a step down for Mendes. But then again,
and if Mendes wins that, though, where does he go from? He's still in the same spot. He doesn't kind of move anywhere.
But it keeps him busy for a little bit, and that's a fight that you could market on a fight night.
Right.
Versus Mendes.
I mean, if Mendes Aldo 3,
and it's an opportunity, like you said, it's an opportunity for Clay.
Yeah.
Mendes Aldo 3 is probably not. Not going to sell a lot of pay-per-views.
Those trilogies are only good whenever it's 1-on-1.
Exactly.
Not 1 slaughter, 2. The second one was a good fight, but I mean, clearly Aldo won that second fight.
Sure. But if Mendes, he said that he did want to stay busy. I would think that would make if Mendes has to wait and see what happens with the McGregor-Aldo fight and the title. That would make sense. I would think it makes sense to keep him busy. If he beats Clay, which on paper, rankings-wise, he at least stays busy, stays warm to see until after July. If Clay wins, then the promotion has Clay Guida on a rise to go forward. Now we got a new guy in the top 10 mix, and if Aldo stays champion, you have Aldo and Guida, which you can market at least, even if it may seem on paper like a one-sided thing. And then if McGregor wins in July, boom, we've hit the restart button.
That's the best thing that can happen to that division.
It really is, yeah. You get a lot of fresh combinations there, and you avoid we have to do Faber versus Mendes thing.
Right.
Because that's not going to sell enough tickets, I don't think, for those guys to justify it.
This is one of those weird situations that happens every once in a while when you have such a dominant champion where the rest of the excitement in that weight class kind of like fizzles out because if nobody can touch him, then it's all like we're fighting for second.
We were just talking about that about Ronda Rousey after her last fight. I was like, who does she fight next?
Yeah.
Like even facing Betch Kohead August 1st, that's like a stretch. Like she hasn't even fought like
it's like they need to really nurture that division kind of.
It's so hard when you have that'd be like an Anderson Silva walking into UFC 2. You know what I mean? Like just somebody that's just so much better than everyone else fighting around him. It's tough with Ronda, but and I hope this division doesn't peter out because it's such an exciting. I mean, guys that size are just so fun to watch.
Yeah, it's always been a tough, a good division.
And just who doesn't want McGregor to win? Because just on entertainment value,
the Brazilians.
Exactly.
The Brazilians don't want him to win. They're happy with the way things are. Let's keep it status quo.
Right. But he's so entertaining. But is he ready to win? That is he? I mean, he's definitely good. Everyone thinks he's not good, but is he? Is he champion good?
Well, and on top of that, if he wins the title, it's going to be really interesting to see. The pressure of being a champion. I know this from my many reigns as UFC champion in the video game. The pressure to keep that title is much different than the pressure to attain it. You've got nothing to lose when you're chasing after it.
Also, sometimes, listen, I'm generalizing about his personality. I don't know McGregor at all. Some guys, they have the fire to be the underdog. And they have that. There's something that drives them. And then once they get to the top, they enjoy the partying a little bit. Maybe they enjoy the celebrity a little bit of it. And
everybody loves the champ.
And then maybe I'll start training an hour later today.
It's harder to train when you're sleeping in silk sheets. Right?
Yes, exactly. So I mean, that's just completely a guess, but it could happen.
Let's we've gone over the show. Let's break a little bit. I want to hear a little bit more about your backgrounds. You guys, I know, connected most directly. I'm connected to you guys at least through Josh Barnett. He's a guy that really seems to enjoy taking. He has his own little flock of students and followers, and what he brings to the table as a coach. How long have you guys been working with him? And tell us a little bit about him as a coach.
I mean, I think I went to his first animal sacrifice about. And that's how you get in. That's how you. That's the first rule of training with Josh. I've
known him for about 3 years, and he's a great. He's coached me on like the sideline before. He's cornered me before, and he's a great corner, like motivational, and like I need that. I always need someone. this is what it's all about.
So he takes a soft approach to you, not just the kill, must get blood, bring me back a limb.
No, I don't. You don't
get that one?
He's nicer to
well,
me than
he's
you.
also like I've encountered or just like peeked in on or experienced a little bit of his like if you lose. Mm-hmm. The lecture. The lecture's no good. The post fight like.
What is the lecture?
I mean, if you don't.
Is that
like
the I'm disappointed in you?
Yeah, I'm disappointed
Really?
in you. That shouldn't have happened, and you're exactly.
Like the parent, you really
what
screwed
just
up.
happened there, like, sort of.
Not
thing.
the angry, just the I'm not going to waste energy on you kind of. I'm disappointed speech.
Yeah,
ouch.
about that. Yeah,
that's difficult.
He coached me when I lost once, and he was really nice to me. I don't know, but he's not. I mean, he's kind of more of a coach to you.
No, he's but yeah, he's really good to all his students, and he I mean, he also I feel like invests time in girls, which is nice. He always
really impressive.
Has worked with girl fighters. Yeah,
he's been ahead of the curve.
Shayna Baszler,
He's
worked with her forever. Yeah,
and who am I thinking of? Japanese fighter on the tip of my tongue, Megumi Fujii.
Yes, I love
yeah. Well, with Japanese fighting or with women's fighting having been so popular for much longer than in Japan and the U.S. and Josh being connected as he is in Japan, I guess it makes sense. But
right.
Must be nice to see him bring that over. I mean, he's certainly been a proponent of women's MMA for quite a long time.
Yeah, like even... Yeah, I realized I met him through an old coach, Janelle Marquez, and she would have, she had like a tragic back injury and had to get surgery, but she was like, she'd been wrestling forever and was just a beast, and then had that back injury, but she would have like come up, she would be a beast right now, and probably in UFC.
Now, as we talked about, Chuck, you have also a background in Sambo wrestling, Russian Sambo.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that? I mean, tell us a little bit about it, and then also where it fits in with MMA. Does it fit in?
Oh, yeah, sure. So I started actually doing Sambo in New York. I'm from New York originally, and Sambo's a Russian martial art. It was kind of started in the Soviet Union as their like military martial art, and it had kind of two schools of it. It had the sport Sambo, which was kind of almost like judo, slightly different rules, and then it had combat Sambo, which is kind of like where you get fedors from, where punching and kicking. It's basically MMA with like a judo jacket on. And so I trained in New York under what was called freestyle Sambo and combat Sambo. Freestyle is kind of like an Americanization of sport Sambo, where you are allowed to do chokes. You're allowed to do a few other submissions that aren't in traditional Russian Sambo. And I mean, Sambo is a great intro to MMA and a great way to train for MMA because, like I said earlier in the podcast, fights are kind of decided by what the rules are. And Sambo, the rules in Sambo promote fast entry, fast submissions, because they'll stand you up if you are stalling at all. You can't close your guard. It's all about moving the pace, very quickly. And so you've seen a few guys come from Sambo that, I mean, are especially combat Sambo because you're used to punching and kicking and integrating that with a takedown game. And not just I'm a wrestler that does some Muay Thai. It's you train from the beginning and like, okay, I can throw this kind of big looping punch, get an overhook, do a hip toss, all from the beginning, as opposed to taking a few different styles and sticking them together.
Right.
So I think, I mean, Sambo is a great thing, and we're going to see more people coming over, I think, from Russia and the Caucasus, like Khabib from I think he's from Dagestan. A lot. MMA is huge in these countries.
Really?
Oh yeah, huge.
Interesting.
And the problem with these countries is they're also super dangerous, some of them, and like kind of poor. So you don't see as many of the guys coming over. It's a lot harder to get a visa, obviously.
Okay.
But I think in the next 5-10 years, we're going to see a lot of these guys coming up from Russia that are just animals.
I've always been surprised that judo didn't, in the evolution of MMA, play more of a factor. It seems like it's been like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu when it comes to.
Yeah, I mean, judo is one of the most popular sports in the world.
Is it really?
Yeah, I
didn't know that.
It's
outside of America, sure.
Yeah,
it's the soccer of grappling for the rest of the world. You know what I mean?
Yes, I mean it's just. So it is surprising that you don't see more like really strong judo players I'm fortunate enough to train at, there's a cool judo dojo, Tenry near, like, on the east, like, Boyle Heights.
Okay.
And, like, it's super international there. Like, there's all these, like, French guys. I'm always the only, like, whitey and the only girl, so.
Yeah, well, a lot of, in France, I believe, in gym, people, and they don't wrestle as much, and they're more likely to do judo. It's very common to have judo class in high school and junior high.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's surprising that there's not.
I think a lot of that is because A, it's a traditional martial art, and B, the way the rules are, especially, now that it's an Olympic sport, kind of don't lend themselves as much to MMA. When a lot of your game is based on grip fighting, then it's hard, if you don't have a gi, a lot of that's gone. While with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, most of the stuff you can do with a gi on, you can also do without a gi. There's, obviously some chokes and certain techniques, but like you get on somebody's back, you choke them out. It's same either way. It's you armbar somebody, it's pretty much the same. Little changes, but in judo, Nawaza, which is what they call their groundwork, is also limited. They don't let you fool around down there too long. So it's only people that are real exceptional talents like Ronda, I think, that have been able to make that transition. And hopefully we see more, because judo guys are super exciting. Like Parisian was a judo guy. And how fun was he to watch? Hip tossing dudes like left and right. You'd see Georges St. Pierre obviously did a lot of kind of judo-based takedowns that he learned, I'm sure, training wherever he did in some mountain, I'm sure, some French mountain.
Well, with the UFC opening up their markets into Poland, obviously just in a few weeks, I believe, and then possibly Russia this year, you think that we'll have an influx of Russians and Eastern Europeans coming in with those skills?
I don't know if you've ever seen this sport, Daido Juku, too.
No.
I call it space karate. It's basically
interesting.
It's basically bare knuckle karate, like Kyokushin,
right?
But with a bubble face mask, so they can punch to the head because it's bare knuckle, and they headbutt. And it is Google this. It's the coolest looking sport. Really popular in Russia. Daido Juku.
Daido Juku.
Don't ask me to spell it. But sound it out. Google will help.
Got it.
And it's one of the coolest sports and really popular in Russia. And there's been Kyokushin knockdown karate guys that have made the transition to MMA, but not as many because they don't punch to the head. It's only body and head kicks. And so what would end up happening is you have these really badass black belts go and do MMA, and their hands are down by their belly because they're used to defending their body, and they get punched in the head. But this, like I said, this sport's really popular in Russia. I'm hoping you get some of these guys because they're wild and awesome.
Girls. Every chick I've ever met, Russian chick I've ever met, was like really hardcore, badass chick. So hopefully we see good Eastern Europe and Russian girls coming in too.
Space karate is one thing.
What's your guys' dream? Is it to be in the UFC at some point?
Oh, no.
She says defiantly.
No, I'm 28, so and I do jujitsu, and I'm I'm a fashion designer, so I'm pursuing.
It's more of like a hobby.
Win-win worlds.
Oh yeah, it's like a life hobby. Like, I don't know, I love jujitsu, and I love competing in jujitsu, and having a fashion line, I only have time to do so much jujitsu, and if I was even going to do an amateur MMA fight, like, I would want to commit to training so much more than I can train now. Like, I don't train enough jiu-jitsu as I want to be able to train, because it's like a competitive industry that I'm in.
Multiple things to juggle.
Yeah, like, fashions leaks. Anybody that works in the industry is just like, it's just crazy. But anyway, I make time for jiu-jitsu, and I love it. And it really, I love the kind of the insight it gives me to MMA too, and to like any sort of athletic chick, it's like just nice to practice what you preach. And it's just super, I just believe in like women's sports. And
now, as I understand it, you designed ring attire for was it Shayna and Colleen Schneider?
Yeah, I've done Shayna and Colleen Schneider's Invicta fight, and Shayna, I did her last UFC Fight Night, and it looked cool. She's, her nickname's great, Queen of Spades, right, so it was easy to pull inspiration if she has such a good nickname. And then, but anyway, I'm just trying to change the look.
You got that Bellator fight you're designing something.
Yeah, and then the upcoming Bellator next weekend, I'm doing Chad George Savage. So anyway, not limiting to women. But
what's the motif on his attire there? Giant Tasmanian devil coming out or something? Or you don't want to say?
No, there's no. I mean, honestly, it's just his sponsors, and I did a real simple design. Like it's a, there's some like graphic involved, but I just, kept it clean.
Yeah.
But I don't. Yeah, no floral or.
Well, we've got a full month of fights coming up here. Looking to the board on the 11th, we'll be back next week talking about what takes place on the 11th. Gabriel Gonzaga versus Mirko Cro Cop. That is happening in Poland.
That's a rematch.
Yeah, rematch
Like
from several years ago. Guys, go back and look it up. That was one of the all-time highlight reel kicks for UFC history. On the 18th, Luke Rockhold and Lyoto Machida in a very important showdown at 185 pounds.
Although I'm excited for Jacare versus Yoel Romero from that night.
That's on that same card, right?
That's
the 18th.
On that same card on Fox.
Yeah. It'd be good to see that one actually happen. It was originally
Paige Van Sant versus Felice Herrig.
Boom. There you go as well. That one's really stacked. And then at the end of the month, of course, we've got UFC 186. Demetrius Johnson defending against Kyoki Horiguchi. And what I find is a really interesting topic here, the return of Rampage Jackson. Quentin Rampage Jackson coming back to the UFC, scheduled to fight Fabio Maldonado. Little caveat, I'm going to put an asterisk here. If this happens, there is still the issue contractually with him, Bellator challenging the validity of Jackson's departure from Bellator. Jackson basically declared himself a free agent and re-signed with the UFC several months ago. There is supposed to be, I believe, a judge's decision coming down this coming Tuesday, about 48 hours from now. And, what I find interesting to this, as it relates to this whole card, is if the judge decrees or goes in favor of Bellator and the plaintiffs, that pulls Rampage off the show possibly, which means that the show itself in Montreal, the biggest name there, the main event, DJ Demetrius Johnson versus Horiguchi for the featherweight title, and not much underneath there really.
Michael Bisping versus CB Dollaway.
It's going to be a cheap tickets.
Notwithstanding that, you're right about that.
I mean, originally it was supposed to be Hedden Barao and TJ Dillashaw.
Yeah, this is one of the cornerstones. The Montreal shows were consistently a cornerstone, almost like an annual thing for the UFC. And now, it just bad timing, things going wrong.
MMA's huge up there. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to pull something else big together if they lost Rampage. But on the other hand, they have pretty good lawyers, so I'm sure they wouldn't be putting his name out there without at least some confidence that they're going to win this case. But
because they were still talking about it yesterday as if it was happening. You would think that they would at least hold off on it maybe like a few days, especially because of this coming Tuesday. Well,
that's why I bring it up. I find it very interesting then that that they would continue to promote this thing. They must know something that we don't know,
right?
So
they got that money.
yeah, exactly. So
did you guys see Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania? No?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
Guys, this is our first show back since WrestleMania, and of course, I mean.
No, I was there.
Can we not miss that?
I was there.
How can we miss? All right,
you weren't
the
sitting next to her?
No, I was trying.
They were all there.
You were trying to get in there?
I saw them at the hotel, though. Not Ronda, but everyone else was at the hotel.
Let's talk to them. Say,
No,
hey,
I was too
Shayna,
shy.
why don't you come on our show? Jessamine, why don't you come on our show?
She said
I was
that
too
you
busy.
don't. She said you haven't hit her up.
Who said that?
Shayna.
Shayna is a little bit wrong about that. If Jessamine said that, she's really wrong about that. When Jessamine won't return my texts, and it's not that creepy. I'm not that much creepy, am I? I mean, tell me, warn me. I'll change the terminology.
I was going to ask them for the show, but I was too busy saying, "Oh, Sergeant Slaughter, let me get your autograph." Oh, Bret Hart, picture.
Understandable.
So, that was me.
What did you guys think of the WrestleMania moment, George? I mean, you were there.
That was cool.
Thoughts?
I mean, I kind of saw it coming.
Yeah.
Just because it was like, well, don't they have a movie that just came out?
Oh, that's right.
Weird
And just the whole scenario, I'm like, wait, Ronda's right there. Let me start a Ronda. Oh wait, they already started a Ronda Rousey chant. So that was pretty cool.
Nice.
Definitely cool. I know it's a MMA, but it's cool WrestleMania moment because it definitely felt like it was a big deal.
Right.
I guess at the end of the day, it definitely shows just the drawing power of UFC sweetheart Ronda Rousey.
Right.
They didn't just bring in some chick or some other chick or even a guy. they brought in Ronda Rousey. Mm-hmm. They could have brought in anyone, but they brought in Ronda Rousey.
She's arguably, she might be the most famous MMA fighter right now. Because, not because among MMA fans, but because fans that don't know MMA know who Ronda Rousey is, while they might not be able to mention anyone else.
And just because she's the sweetheart, she's more likely to get like the movie deals, and
she's a babe. That doesn't hurt being a babe.
There aren't any other dudes that I think have been in the swimsuit issue.
Yeah, regardless of your of her reputation, some people say she's a bully or whatever. She's very much so a media darling. Mm-hmm. Like she that's what matters.
Yeah.
Also she's like, she can be a bully. She's a champ. She's a badass. Yeah. Like she's like.
What really bothered me the most about that whole thing, though, I was so torn about it. It was great to see this thing happen. I think it's great for MMA, and I'm all for just about any exposure that the sport gets. That said, she hip tosses Triple H, and there was a long standoff. I mean, God knows, like the build-up to get Ronda into the cage, or the ring itself, was probably, about 4, maybe even 10 times as long as the Katzengano fight altogether. I mean, they milked that. Fights. Yeah, they milked that thing. So finally she gets in there, and she's standing off, and Triple H rushes in, and he takes the hip toss, and then she just stands there. Frankly, I really wanted to see her kick his ass. I mean, maybe it's the mark in me, but I was ready for that. Don't go after him. You can still get him.
That's how I know wrestling was fake, because all of Ronda's matches are done within a minute. So that's how you know it was staged. Yeah, right. Where's the ground and pound?
Yeah,
it's the thing. That's the thing you don't see, but
I mean, who knows?
Doesn't help the story.
They got to sell out 100,000 seat stadium next year, so we might see Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania next year.
I'm sure if she's still the champ, why not? It's probably super fun.
I wouldn't be surprised by that. Yeah.
I kind of like that there's this crossover between the two, because I was always wondering, like, well, when MMA becomes popular, people are going to still like wrestling, and it's like. I think it probably makes the writing of wrestling even better too, because they kind of have to step it up, and. There's kind of like a resurgence right now in professional wrestling, which is cool. I dig it.
Yeah.
Me too.
In no small part, I'd say fueled.
You can watch me at WrestleMania AfterBuzz that I did like 3 days ago, by the way.
I was going to say no small part. I think it was fueled a lot by Brock Lesnar.
Oh, yeah.
And again, this is something, it's interesting to see in the history of MMA. Shoot, I mean, our guy Josh could speak volumes about this whole thing. A lot of MMA, its success has been based on and sourced by pro wrestling. This was the case in Japan. Yoji Anjo going to challenge, not Hoist, excuse me, Hickson or Hoyler Gracie in the famous gym challenge, I think just down in Torrance, actually, that ended up leading to creation of Pride in Japan. And there was a lot of crossover historically, pro wrestlers that would fight MMA, MMA guys that would do pro wrestling. That never really got to the U.S., at least in terms of awareness.
Well, I think pro wrestlers here, and I don't know if it's because the money is better here or whatever, but they didn't as often actually fight. Everything was the term worked. And so, but in Japan, like those guys they actually would fight, So
yeah, even so, like I love watching Josh Barnett. Not watching because he's not on TV, but hearing Josh Barnett even commentate like the New Japan stuff. I watch it every single Friday, and I love what him and Mauro bring.
Access TV, really good show.
Oh and that guy Josh knows his double wrist locks, single wrist locks. He knows his terms.
But
he's got it all down.
And he does use all of his MMA knowledge and puts it all together. So I'm like, to me, it's like the best of both worlds.
Right. Totally.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're gonna wrap it up here. First, thank you to our guests here, Chuck.
Thanks for having us.
Talk to us. Where can we find you on the internet, and talk about upcoming
stand-up coming
gigs? I was gonna say gigs and things you got going on here.
Pulling my calendar up here. You can see me. I'll be at Sunday the 26th at the Haha Cafe in North Hollywood
on Lancashire Boulevard.
That's right. Thank you for. I didn't know that. Every Wednesday you can find me at Casey's Irish Pub downtown, and every Friday you can find me at the Formosa Cafe in West Hollywood.
Nice.
And my website is chuckludwig.com, and at Chuck Ludwig on Twitter.
And I have on Twitter and Instagram at the Defila, that's me, and at Defila Clothing, that's where you find all the workout wear and go buy some clothes, defilaclothing.com.
You do customs as well?
Yeah, I do customs and, sponsoring good athletes in all sports. So, yeah.
I'm going to talk to you later about a little skirt and halter top idea I have.
Oh, for yourself, I assume?
You never know. You never know. Horge?
You can find me at Hermoza, at GHERMOZA, in case you're not reading what the thing says under, if you're listening on iTunes. GHERMOZA on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can see all my WrestleMania pictures too.
And he has a lot of them.
And my Invicta pictures from a few weeks ago too. I was there too.
An old Invicta.
Yeah.
Real old Invicta.
I'm JTan716, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Yeah, our production booth is in there. It's about to kick in. 3, 2, 1. Happy birthday, Kev. Talk to you guys later.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.